Hi all. So we are continuing with our course EC 303 Applied Electromagnetic Theory, and we are starting the module number 5 of transmission lines, and basically this module deals with a special tool called as Smith chart. So in this lecture we are going to look at the construction of Smith chart. Okay. Now the input impedance, as we have studied, is given by Z0 ZL plus JZ0 tan beta L by Z0 plus JZL tan beta L. So this is for the lossless transmission line. So we are here also in Smith chart, we are considering only the lossless transmission line. But considering this equation, if you are given ZL, Z0, etc., and beta is equal to 2 pi by lambda, where lambda is the wavelength, let's say you are also given L, let's say this is 10 centimeter. Now the question is, how easy is it for you to calculate the input impedance? Because you need to find this quantity beta L and the tangent of that, which means you need to have some kind of a calculator or some kind of a software in which you need to find this value, substitute this in the equation, and substitute the ZL, Z0 and find the ZA. This is a bit of a tedious process. This is one example. So what if we can find this graphically? Because if you can do anything graphically, it is easy to understand, easy to remember, and it is very fast. So you can say Smith chart is a graphical technique which is used to solve transmission line problems. So what are these transmission line problems? Like finding input impedance at any point in transmission line, finding reflection coefficient at any point in transmission line, you can also find, or you can also do something called as matching, because we found that if the transmission line is matched, you have maximum power transfer. So how can you match the transmission line so that you will have maximum power transfer? You can also design using the Smith chart. So these are some of the applications of Smith chart. Okay, so we will see everything in detail. So let me show the Smith chart. So this is basically the Smith chart. Okay, and if you see the Smith chart, it looks very complicated. You have a lot of lines going back and forth. It is like a radiating pattern kind of thing, but it has nothing to do with radiation. And there are many things at the corners. There are many numbers, and it says wavelength storage generator, inductive reactance, etc., etc. And then you have the very crowded numbers at the right side, and at the bottom you have scaled parameters where you have seen SWR, return coefficient, reflection coefficient, etc., etc. So we are going to see what all things are. Actually, Smith chart is a very easy topic, because by looking at this it feels complicated, but once you do problems you will see that it is one of the easiest topic in the transmission lines. Fine. So let's go and continue with our discussion. So the Smith chart, or let's say the reflection coefficient tau at any point L or at the load is equal to ZL minus Z0 by ZL plus Z0. Now impedances are imaginary, so this quantity is also imaginary. This we have discussed in the last class, right? Or I would say the appropriate word is complex. It's not imaginary, it is complex. This is complex. So if tau L is complex, then I can represent tau L as some real part plus j some imaginary part. So tau R is the real part of tau L and tau I is the imaginary part of tau L. Okay. Now why did I take tau L? Because any reflection I can represent in terms of tau L e raised to 2j beta L. So if you know tau L, then beta and L, it is a parameter that is already present to you, given to you. So you can always represent any reflection point coefficient at point L as the product of reflection coefficient at the load and exponential of 2j beta L. Okay, so tau L is our reference, and Smith chart is basically drawn in an axis where the x-axis is your real part of tau L, which is tau R, and y-axis is imaginary part of tau L, which is tau I. Okay, fine. So now the question is, so we have already seen that any complex number can also be represented as the product of its magnitude e raised to j phi. So the question is, what is the maximum value of the magnitude of tau L? Because we know that any reflection coefficient always lie between -1 and +1. So the maximum value of any reflection coefficient is equal to 1. So tau L max is basically 1 multiplied by e raised to j phi. This is basically a circle. So this is a circle. We have seen in our max that this is basically represents a circle with radius mod tau L. So the maximum radius of the circle is 1. So in the plane, I can draw a circle of radius, I can draw a circle of radius 1, okay, because the reflection coefficient always lies inside this circle. The reflection coefficient always lies inside this circle because the value of the maximum value of reflection coefficient is 1. Okay, and we draw the Smith chart inside this circle. So whatever is coming, which is shown in that Smith chart, is inside this circle of radius 1. Okay, so the radius basically, so this circle has radius is equal to 1 because we are drawing a Smith chart in, I write Smith chart as SC, is drawn in a plane of reflection coefficient, where the x-axis is tau r, which is the real part of reflection coefficient, and y-axis is tau I. Okay, fine. And there is one more thing that we need to focus or mention. When we wrote tau L, you wrote as ZL minus Z0 by ZL plus Z0. In Smith chart, all impedances are normalized with respect to the characteristic impedance Z0. So what do you mean by this? So I can write this as tau L by Z0 minus 1 by, ZL by Z0 minus 1 by ZL by Z0 plus 1, which I represent as ZL bar minus 1 by ZL bar plus 1, where ZL bar is equal to ZL by Z0, and this is the normalized load impedance. So if you divide any impedance by Z0, that is the normalized impedance. Similarly, I can write Z in normalized as Z in by Z0, which is normalized input impedance. So in Smith chart, all impedances are normalized. Fine. Okay, now let's go into the construction of Smith chart. Fine. So let's start with the basic equation, which is tau L is equal to ZL bar minus 1 by ZL bar plus 1. I can write tau L as tau R plus J tau I is equal to ZL bar minus 1 by ZL bar plus 1. Okay. Fine. Now let's cross multiply and find out what is the value of ZL bar. Implies I can just move denominator upside, so I'll have tau R plus J tau I multiplied by ZL bar plus 1 is equal to ZL bar minus 1, or I can write as expanding I can write as tau R ZL bar plus tau R plus J tau I ZL bar plus J tau I is equal to ZL bar minus 1. Okay. Now let's bring everything to the left. So you will get tau R ZL bar plus tau R plus J tau I ZL bar plus J tau I minus ZL bar plus 1 is equal to 0. Okay. Let's take everything which is of ZL bar common. Okay. So let's look at, so this has ZL bar, this has ZL bar, this has ZL bar. Fine. So if I take ZL bar, it will be tau R plus J tau I minus 1 plus the rest of the terms, which is tau r, or let me write in a different color. So which is this, and this, plus tau r plus j tau I plus 1 is equal to 0. Okay. Now let's bring everything to the right except ZL bar. So I can write ZL bar is equal to tau r plus j tau I plus 1 by 1 minus tau r plus j tau I. Okay. So when you bring it to the right, you will have minus sign which goes into denominator, so everything will change its sign. So that you will get the expression for ZL bar in terms of tau r and tau I. Okay. So this is my first important expression. Fine. Now if you look at this expression, you see that the denominator is complex. So this is complex, and the numerator is also complex. Okay. Note that tau r and tau I are real. It is because of the presence of j it is becoming complex. So what I want to do is I want to make denominator real. So how will you make the denominator real? You multiply by the conjugate. Okay. So I can write ZL bar is equal to tau r plus 1, which is the real part, plus j tau I, which is the imaginary part, divided by 1 minus tau r plus j tau I. You multiply this with the conjugate of the denominator, which is 1 minus tau r minus j tau I. So what did we? So when you multiply the denominator to make it equivalent, you need to multiply the numerator also with the same quantity. So this is 1 minus tau r minus j tau I. Okay. So if you multiply a plus jb into a minus jb, which is the conjugate of a plus jb, the answer is a square plus b square. So here a is 1 minus tau r and b is tau I. So I can write ZL bar is equal to, let's don't alter the numerator, let it be like that only, tau r plus 1 plus j tau I multiplied by 1 minus tau r minus j tau I divided by, so the denominator now become a square, which is 1 minus tau r whole square plus tau I square, which is b square. Okay. Fine. Now let's look at the numerator also. Just write it separately. Tau r plus 1 plus j tau I. So let's look at numerator. Multiplied by 1 minus tau r minus j tau I. Okay. So first let's multiply this and this. So you will get, this is a plus b into a minus b, which is a square minus b square, which will give you this. Now let's multiply this and this. So we will get plus j tau I minus j tau I, which will give you plus tau I square. So you multiply this and this, so you get this. Now let's multiply this and this, so that you will get as minus j tau I multiplied by tau r plus 1. So that if you multiply both, you will get this. And at the last, let's multiply this and this. So you will get plus j tau I into 1 minus, tau I into 1 minus tau r. So which will give you this. Okay. So I can expand it again, saying that this is equal to 1 minus tau r square plus tau I square minus j tau I tau r minus j tau I plus j tau I minus j tau I tau r. Okay, and you see that minus j tau I and plus j tau I will get cancelled, and the rest will get added up, and you will get 1 minus tau r square plus tau I square minus 2j tau I tau r. Okay. Now let's substitute it back in the equation. So substituting in equation, you will get saddle bar is equal to 1 minus tau r square plus tau I square minus 2j tau I. I think I made a mistake somewhere. Let me see. Yeah. So the mistake is like this. Sorry. So you see, when you expand this term, this is minus j okay. So the mistakes come from the start actually, because when you take this to this side, then you will have plus here and a minus here. Okay, so I can write this as this should be minus. Similarly, this should be minus. So when you want to multiply the conjugate, you need to multiply and with plus. Okay, and then you will have a plus here, so the denominator remains the same. So I will have a plus here, which means I will have a minus here, because plus j tau I into plus j tau I will be minus. So this will be minus tau I square, and then you will have a, when you multiply plus tau r plus 1 and plus j tau I plus 1, you will get plus j tau I into tau r plus 1. And when you multiply plus j tau I into 1 minus tau r, it is plus j tau I into 1 minus tau r. Okay, so please correct these mistakes so that you will not write anything wrong in your notes. So 1 minus tau r square plus, so here also you will get a minus tau I square plus j tau I tau r plus j tau I plus j tau I minus j tau I tau r. So the one which cancels out is minus j tau I tau r and plus j tau I tau r. So this will be equal to 1 minus tau r square minus tau I square plus 2j tau I. Okay, so substitute in the equation. So you get ZL bar is equal to 1 minus tau r square minus tau I square plus 2j tau I whole divided by 1 minus tau r square whole square plus tau I square. Okay, now this is again complex. So I can try this as real part and imaginary part. So 1 minus tau r square minus tau I square whole divided by 1 minus tau r the whole square plus tau I square, that is the real part, plus 2j tau I by 1 minus tau r square plus tau I square. Okay, so this is the real part and this is the imaginary part of this equation. Okay, because tau r and tau I are real, only because of the presence of j this becomes imaginary. Fine. Now there is one more thing, ZL is also complex because it's an impedance. So I can write ZL as r plus jx, where r is the real part and jx is the imaginary part. So I can write ZL as r plus jx, where r is the real part of Z bar L and x is the imaginary part of Z bar L. So in both RHS and LHS have both real and imaginary parts. So you cannot equate a real part to an imaginary part, or you cannot equate a imaginary part to a real part. Okay, so for equating you should always equate between real parts and between imaginary part. Fine. So I can write r is equal to 1 minus tau r square minus tau I square by 1 minus tau r whole square plus tau I square. Similarly, x is equal to 2 tau I by 1 minus tau r square plus tau I square. Okay, so we have equated the real and imaginary part. Now let's look at only the real part. Okay, so what we are going to do? We are going to look at the real part. R is equal to 1 minus tau r square minus tau I square by 1 minus tau r the whole square plus tau I square. Fine. Now let's cross multiply. So you get r multiplied by 1 minus tau r whole square plus tau I square is equal to 1 minus tau r square minus tau I square. Let's expand on the left hand side. So you'll get r into 1 plus tau r square minus 2 tau r plus tau I square is equal to 1 minus tau r square minus tau I square. Let's take r inside. So you get r plus r tau r square minus 2r tau r plus r tau I square is equal to 1 minus tau r square minus tau I square. Okay. Now let's do one thing. Let's group the terms of tau r square, or let's group the terms of tau r. So group the terms of tau r, which means you can write r tau r square minus 2r tau r plus tau r square. So this is the terms of tau r plus r tau I square plus tau I square, this is the terms of tau I, plus r minus 1 equal to 0. Okay. So what I did, I have made this come to the right hand side come to LHS left hand side, and I group the terms of tau r and I group the terms of tau I and the terms of constant. Fine. So I can write this as, so there is r tau r square and tau r square, so that is r plus 1 tau r square minus 2r tau r, okay, plus r plus 1 tau I square plus r minus 1 equal to 0. Now I am going to take r plus 1 outside from this expression. So I can write r plus 1 outside into tau r square minus 2r by r plus 1 into tau r plus r plus 1 tau I square plus r minus 1 equal to 0. Okay. Now if you look at this expression, you can make it perfect square. That is a minus b whole square. You can make it by having a r by r plus 1 whole square term. So if you have r by r plus 1 whole square term in this one, then that expression will become perfect. Like you can make it a minus b whole square tau r minus r by r plus 1 whole square. So what do you do? We can just add and subtract r by r plus 1. Add and subtract r by r plus 1 whole square, which means you are not changing the equation. We get r plus 1 multiplied by tau r square minus 2r by r plus 1 tau r plus r by r plus 1 whole square minus r by r plus 1 whole square plus r plus 1 tau I square plus r minus 1 equal to 0. So adding and removing r by r plus 1 or adding and subtracting r by r plus 1 whole square will not change your equation. Okay. Now I can write this as r plus 1 multiplied by tau r square minus 2r tau r by r plus 1 plus r by r plus 1 whole square, and you take the other thing out, so minus r square by r plus 1. Because when you take this out, you will get multiplied by r plus 1. Okay, so when you take this out, it is multiplied by r plus 1, which is this. Okay, and then you have plus r plus 1 tau I square plus r minus 1 equal to 0. Okay. Fine. So this is basically tau r minus r by r plus 1 whole square. Okay. So I can write as r plus 1 into tau r minus r by r plus 1 whole square plus r plus 1 tau I square plus r minus 1 minus r square by r plus 1 is equal to 0. Okay. So let's calculate what is this term. That is r minus 1 minus r square by r plus 1. That is equal to r minus 1 into r plus 1 minus r square by r plus 1. So this is r square minus 1 minus r square by r plus 1, that is minus 1 by r plus 1. This is this. So I can again write as r plus 1 into tau r minus r by r plus 1 whole square plus r plus 1 into tau I square is equal to 1 by r plus 1, because at the left hand side it is minus 1 by r plus 1, you take it to the right hand side, it is 1 by r plus 1. Now there is r plus 1 on the left hand side in both the terms, you can bring it to this side, so you will have tau r minus r by r plus 1 whole square plus tau I square is equal to 1 by r plus 1 whole square. Okay, and this is an important expression. We will see in a minute what this signifies. So this is the expression of, in terms of the real part of reflection coefficient, the imaginary part of reflection coefficient, and r. So what is r? R is actually from Z L bar is equal to r plus jx, where r is the resistance part of ZL bar. Okay, and tau r and tau L are the real and imaginary part of the load reflection coefficients respectively. So what is the significance? So this expression is similar to x minus a whole square plus y minus b whole square is equal to r square, where a is equal to r by r plus 1, b is equal to 0, sorry, let me have capital R, and capital R is equal to 1 by r plus 1. So this represents an equation of a circle in tau r tau I plane with center r by r plus 1 comma 0 and radius 1 by r plus 1. So that is an important conclusion which says that we can represent as a circle in a tau r tau I plane. Okay. Let's take some values and see how this circle will look like. So in our circle, the center is equal to r by r plus 1 comma 0 and radius is equal to 1 by r plus 1. Okay. So I can draw a straight line. So this is tau r axis, another straight line which is tau I axis. Okay, let me draw it straight. This is tau I axis. Okay. Now let's take some values. R, which is the value of the small r resistance, radius and center. So when r equal to 0, the center value is equal to 0 because, the radius value is equal to 1 because 1 by r plus 1. And center value is 0 comma 0. When r is equal to 1 by 2, the radius is 2 by 3 and the center is 1 by 3 comma 0. When r is equal to 1, radius equal to 1 by 2, the center is 1 by 2 comma 0. When r equal to 2, the radius is 1 by 3, the center is 2 by 3 comma 0. And when r is equal to 5, the radius is 1 by 6 and the center is 5 by 6 comma 0. When r equal to infinity, the radius is 0, the center is 1 comma 0. Okay. So let's draw each of them. Fine. Now this point is 1 comma 0. Okay. So when r equal to 0, the radius is 0, so radius is 1 and the center is at 0. So this is the center. You have a circle coming from with the radius as 1. So this distance is 1. So it will pass through r equal to 1 and I will have a circle. Like this. Okay. This is for r equal to 0. Now for r equal to 1 by 2, the radius is 2 by 3 and center is 1 by 3. So 1 by 3 might be somewhere here. This is 1 by 3 comma 0. And the radius is 2 by 3. So basically center is 1 by 3 and it has a radius of 2 by 3, which means it will again touches 1 comma 0. So I will have another circle like this. Okay, this is for 1 by 2 r. Now when r equal to 1, the radius is 1 by 2 and center is 1 by 2 comma 0. So the 1 by 2 comma 0 will be somewhere here. Okay, with data center, if you draw a circle, it will circle with radius 1 by 2, it will again touch 1 comma 0. So we will have something like this. Okay, fine. Now for r equal to 2, the center is at 2 by 3 comma 0. So 2 by 3 comma 0 will be somewhere here, 2 by 3 comma 0. And the radius is 1 by 3, which means again 2 by 3 plus 1 by 3 is 1. It will touch at 1, and you will have again another circle which passes through 1. Okay. Similarly for 5. And so you will have multiple circles like this for different values of r, and r is a continuous value. It can take any value. So you will have multiple circles like this. Okay. And at infinity, at r equal to infinity, basically the radius is 0 and the center is 1 comma 0. So you will have a point at 1 comma 0. Okay, and this is a concentric circle which represents something called as a resistance circle. So this is called as a resistance circle in Smith chart, because R is basically the resistance. So we are varying R and you are getting multiple circles. This is called as resistance circle in Smith chart. Okay, so if you look at the Smith chart now, you see that there are multiple resistance circle. So you see that there is a resistance circle like this. Okay, let me draw it clearly. Okay, and you can also see another resistance circle like this. Okay, and you can see a big resistance circle like this. Okay, and so basically you see that this point is 1 comma 0, and you can see a lot of resistance circles like this. Lot of resistance circles. Okay, and there is, so this point is basically your origin. Sorry. Circle like this, and this where you mark 1.0, this is basically your 0 comma 0 reflection coefficient. So this is an axis. So this is the tau r, and this is the tau y axis, and this is the origin point. Okay, this is 1 comma 0. So these circles, these concentric circles are called resistance circles. And the outermost circle, the outermost circle is the circle which have the maximum reflection coefficient, and that circle will have the reflection coefficient magnitude as 1, because the reflection coefficient magnitude cannot go beyond 1. So we are interested only on those circles whose reflection coefficients are below 1. Okay, so that is the reflection coefficient circle which is equal to 1. Fine, But you see that there are many other circles, for example, or I would say semicircles, like this, or like this, or like this. So we need to see what those circles are, because these circles are also going to the bottom. We need to see what those circles are, and we are going to see those circles in the next class. So currently we have seen the resistance circle, how the resistance circle is derived, how the values how the values of sender and the radius, etc., etc., and what is the basics of Smith chart. So once we see the resistance, the next set of circles, which is called as impedance circles, the Smith chart is complete. If you draw both them together, then that is your Smith chart. Okay, so we'll stop here and just go through the lecture, and we'll have a discussion this on that class. Thank you.